Arrows, narrows, and endless traps. Here are 10 of the best tower defense games you can play on PC. Isn't it nice when things just work? Well, this video is a celebration of that, and specifically that beautiful organised feeling you get from tower defense games when you see all your hard work and planning come to fruition, efficiently murdering endless waves of hapless enemies. Lovely. And while most tower defense games, by their very definition, prioritise a hands-off approach, we've also included a couple of interesting twists on the genre to keep things spicy. Here are 10 of the best tower defense games you can play on PC. Ask anyone who's ever owned a dungeon full of treasure and they'll probably tell you the same thing. If you're going to hoard your riches underground, you need to build traps to keep it safe. And Dungeon Warfare 2 builds upon that subterranean premise with gleeful precision. Featuring physics-based traps and 60 handcrafted levels, this is a satisfying, squelchy, wonderfully varied tower defense game. Each of the 32 traps has 8 unique traits, and there's a huge variety of enemies to test them on. And while it might look simplistic, the gameplay is anything but. This is a measured, effective follow-up to an already brilliant game. So if you fancy seeing things from the perspective of the poor, blameless treasure hoarder, rather than the thigh-slapping adventurers out to rob him, Dungeon Warfare 2 has a vault with your name on it. You'll never look at Diablo in the same way again. You know who are really good at building towers? Olden days people. No, that's probably not what they're actually called. Anyway, it's one of many reasons Kingdom Rush Frontiers is such an intuitive, enjoyable tower defense game. The sequel moves things to a vibrant, exotic, low fantasy environment that references similar games without ever feeling sneering or exploitative. And as you'd expect, this means you have to hold back waves of raiders, ghouls, and malevolent insects, as well as some impressive boss monsters like stomping great genies and gigantic lizardmen. To do so, you have a host of very on-brand towers at your disposal, which belch out giant rolling rocks or pepper enemies with waves of crossbow bolts. And if all that isn't satisfying enough, there's also a selection of cheerful elite heroes to help keep those marauding hordes at bay. No, we're all good for marauding hordes here, thank you. Off you pop. Go and maraud somewhere else. Thank you. There's not much we can say about Plants vs Zombies that we haven't said already in other videos. It's sprouted up in our list of the best casual games and in our list of titles to try when you need cheering up. But it's worth reiterating that under all the merchandise and the staggering success and the infuriatingly catchy theme tune, there lies a magnificently compelling tower defense game. It certainly helps that it looks so good with every crisp airborne pea and rolling gormless walnut helping to bring this cartoon garden party to life. And considering the absurd concept, it's amazing how easy it is to understand everything about Plants vs Zombies while still needing to invest time and brainpower to survive the shambling hordes heading to your borders in later levels. Truly, Plants vs Zombies is an example of intangible horticultural heritage. Yes, we've already had a game about killing fantasy monsters on this list, but as the saying definitely doesn't go, if you want to build some towers, you're going to need to kill some orcs. And the good news is that Orcs Must Die 2 is about exactly that. It's a game that celebrates the unique thrill of tossing, burning and slicing orcs in staggering multitudes, but it's okay to enjoy it because, they're evil. The second game is everything a sequel should be, enriching all the best bits about the original. It still looks amazing, the puzzles are smarter than ever, and grinding orcs into a fine green paste still feels rather nice. And by adding third-person action elements into the mix, this is the perfect choice for anyone who likes a bit more personality with their tower defense. With so many monsters to slaughter and so many traps to choose from, you'll almost start to feel sorry for the hapless green beasties you're squelching into oblivion. Almost, but not quite. Okay, so at first glance, Creeper World 3 might look completely impenetrable and totally overwhelming. Are the enemies made of liquid? Who's fighting whom? How can I tell if I'm winning or losing? And even the description of the game, what happens when Cellular Automata takes over a strategy simulation, doesn't do much to allay those initial fears. But stick with it, and this brilliant hybrid of strategy and tower defense will challenge your adaptability in ways quite unlike any other game. Instead of discrete units, your enemy here is a fluid-like substance that flows and spreads across your terraformable terrain. That means that the shape of the land itself has to become part of your strategy. And instead of scripted AI, your aqueous enemy acts procedurally, leading to a defensive battle against an enemy that's the exact right level of unpredictable. The open nature of Creeper World means there are literally billions of possible games to play here. Whether you're looking for an experience that lasts 5 minutes or 5 days, Creeper World 3 is the most fluid tower defense experience available on PC. The most recent addition to a celebrated series, GemCraft Chasing Shadows, is a hard as granite tower defense game with an emphasis on strategy and replayability. The story focuses on wizards, an evil and a demonic force known as the Forgotten, but you're probably not here for that. It's the only excuse you need to blast seemingly endless waves of monsters by harnessing the magical power contained within the gems mentioned in the title. You can even craft and combine said gems to create bespoke effects. Scale and replayability are the watchwords here. With over 190 stages and stackable difficulty tiers, GemCraft Chasing Shadows provides an enduring, deeply replayable tower defense experience. It might not be as vibrant or as bouncy as some of the other games we've featured, but if you want to lose days magically defending your turf, and the fact you're here suggests that you probably do, this one is an absolute treasure. Okay, so maybe the name suggests clown cars and custard pies rather than best-in-class tower defense. But don't judge this vibrant strategy game by its cover. Instead, just have a look at the Steam reviews, mostly from people begging to escape after hundreds of hours glued to this game. Part of the appeal comes from the central conceit of popping balloons, which, as anyone who's ever ruined a child's birthday party will attest to, is amazingly good fun. But it's the flawless design of Bloons that really grabs hold of you and refuses to let go. It's also absolutely rammed with content, with 21 towers to build, over 40 tracks to play, as well as their reverse versions, and 10 special agents to mix things up even further. And while all this is obviously brilliant, we feel that telling you about Bloons should come with a health warning. Getting into this game signals the sharp, popping death of your productivity for the rest of the day. When you think of a classic tower defense game, you probably imagine something like this. Jagged skylines of towers, glowing neon gunfire, and turrets firing in beautiful unison to annihilate oncoming alien hordes. The sequel to the equally excellent defense grid The Awakening, DG2 establishes a crisp new look for the series, as well as adding new game modes like player versus player and multiplayer co-op. And if you like your tower defense games with a touch of story, this is the place to come. There's a full campaign here, featuring over 20 maps and an established cast of characters. And if you're looking at all of this and thinking you could do better, DG Architect even lets you build your own levels from scratch, which you can share and even sell on the Steam Workshop. If you're after a classic tower defense game in its purest form, you can't go too wrong with DG Defense Grid 2.
It feels good to battle aliens once again.
First off, ignore the 3D sequel, which added an unnecessary extra dimension to an already excellent game, and instead pick up PxelJunk Monsters Ultimate. It's perhaps not the most cerebral entry on this list, instead offering a bright, accessible entry point into the genre. And being a PxelJunk game, it looks wonderful, not least because of the adorable waddling protagonist Tiki Man and his equally adorable offspring. Your job, rather chillingly, is to prevent said offspring from being devoured by hordes of monsters. And Tiki Man's mission to protect his sprogs takes him across 3 distinct islands, with a huge variety of unique environments and an equally broad selection of towers to build. And if that's feeling like too much to handle on your own, a friend can also dive in and join you. The Tiki babies are relying upon you. We love throwing a few hybrid games in these lists, and Sanctum 2 is a great example of 2 genres smashed together with satisfying results. Following up, the brilliant original Sanctum 2 blends FPS and multiplayer elements with classic tower defense with spectacular results. Your 4 unique characters have to defend oxygen-producing cores from waves of chitinous alien hordes. It's like Plants vs Zombies via Warhammer 40,000. Now, looking at this, you might think it's just a shooter, what with all the shooting and everything, but the tower defense elements are established during the building phase. You create mazes of towers and walls to funnel enemies into manageable choke points. And further levels of complexity are added by the customizable characters, all of whom can be tweaked with variable loadouts, weapons, and perks. If you ever fancied a tower defense game that gives you a boots on the ground experience, Sanctum 2 is absolutely the best choice.
All clear for now.
And that's your lot. Did you make it past our word towers unscathed? Hit the like button if you love a perfectly managed defensive skyline. Let us know in the comments what your favourite tower defence games are, and please don't forget to subscribe to Logitech G for more top 10s and weekly shows.